case were tainted, so the men should be freed.
I was set up by the police for a robbery that wasn't a robbery. There's a lot of corrupt policemen out there, and it's still going on. There's a lot of people in prison that shouldn't be in prison. And I had a gun planted on me. We mustn't forget that.
This is the latest in a series of cases to be overturned since Scotland Yard started its anti-corruption drive 2 years ago. 70 metropolitan police officers have been suspended, and a number of them are awaiting trial here. Graham McLagan, BBC News at the Old Bailey.
Full-scale trials of a vaccine that could stop people feeling the full effects of the drug cocaine have started in America. The same method could also be used to immunize people against the effects of nicotine and cannabis.
The latest weapon in America's war on drugs. Paul has been abusing cocaine since he was 14. Now, at 19, he's a human guinea pig in a trial that could transform the way doctors treat addiction. This jab's designed to take the kick out of cocaine. If it works, Paul won't be able to get high even if he tries.
When people smoke cocaine or ingest cocaine, it goes into their blood vessels. What the vaccine does is it has antibodies that keep the cocaine in these blood vessels so it can't get into the brain itself.
And it's not just cocaine. Similar vaccines could be developed for heroin and cannabis. A nicotine vaccine is already far advanced and will be tested on smokers later this year. But will these vaccines work? New research on animals suggests it is possible to stop addiction this way. But critics worry that in people, the vaccines won't produce enough antibodies. And British experts who've been following the research see even wider problems.
You may just have an endless chase between drug users and the vaccine developers. Drug users move on to a new drug that bypasses the vaccine, the developers develop a new one, and so on. Or you may have the emergence of a more deviant pattern of drug use. The cocaine snorter moves to injecting it to get the drug effect before the vaccine kicks in.
Another hot issue is who should eventually get these vaccinations. The prime targets at present are addicts. But should doctors also be allowed to immunise teenagers against drugs if their parents request it? That's a radical prospect, but it's one few experts are currently ruling out, as seizures and consumption of drugs like cocaine reach record levels even in Britain.
And this is just some of that cocaine. There's no guarantee that immunising people will work, but if it does, then in future we may have some hard choices to make about who should have the vaccine and whether it will be acceptable to give it to children. David Conkar, BBC News.
And you can see more about the search for new treatments for addiction in Constant Craving on BBC Two at 9:30 tomorrow evening. Football and Scotland and Wales have both been involved in friendly matches tonight. Despite a rare appearance and a goal by Ryan Giggs, Wales lost 2-1 to Finland in front of a crowd of 66,000 at the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff. Scotland are still playing against the world champions France with half an hour to go. The score is 1-0 to France. Leeds United and Tottenham Hotspur football clubs have been fined a record £150,000 each by the Football Association. It follows a mass brawl between the two sides last month. The FA said the incident had been unacceptable, but decided not to dock Premier League points from either club.
Whose is that?
The Tottenham manager, George Graham, left the FA hearing in relaxed mood tonight, despite the record fine imposed. His counterpart from Leeds United, David O'Leary, was distinctly less cheerful and left without making any comment.
Any chance of just a brief word?
But the Leeds chairman, who had promised a vigorous defence against the misconduct charge, acknowledged that the incident had been unacceptable.
I think our record is one that, with the exception of this game, is as good as anybody's. And, this one game had incidents in it that nobody would wish to see in a football field, and we accept that, and we were very open and honest in our defence on that.
After viewing television coverage of the mass brawl at Elland Road, the tribunal said that the players' violent behaviour had damaged the image of the game. The FA warned any further incidents would result in action much stronger than a heavy fine.
And we want to make clear that from now on in, that any clubs found guilty of this sort of offence face points being deducted. We think that's an effective deterrent.
The Leeds defender Ian Hart, who faced a separate misconduct charge following an alleged stamping incident in the same game, was tonight cleared by the inquiry panel. The FA has clearly decided to take a much tougher line against breaches of discipline both on and off the field. And the message seems to be getting across to the clubs. Neither Leeds nor Tottenham will be appealing against this verdict. Paul Newman, BBC News at Birmingham City.
And the main news tonight, police in Uganda investigating the deaths of followers of an obscure religious cult have now recovered around 700 bodies. The next news is at 10 on BBC News 24, but that's the 9 o'clock news. Good evening.
Good evening. An elderly couple are in hospital suffering from shock after a gas explosion at their home tonight. Fire officers say they were extremely lucky the explosion didn't start a fire. Mike Ramsden reports from North Nottinghamshire.
The explosion happened at 6:30 on Huthwaite Road in Sutton in Ashfield. An elderly couple were inside the house but weren't seriously injured in the blast. It's believed one of them was trying to light a gas fire. Fire officers say they were extremely lucky not to be injured.
Had there been a fire as well, it would have made our task even that little bit more difficult. But we've arrived, we've had a look at the casualties. They have suffered from this explosion, but thankfully their injuries appear at the moment to be superficial, and of course they're suffering from shock. A very, very lucky escape this evening indeed.
There's still a smell of gas here. Police have taken the precaution of evacuating 5 houses next to the one that exploded. The elderly couple involved in the blast are said to be doing well at the Kingsmill Hospital. Mike Ramsden, East Midlands Today, Sutton in Ashfield.
The police have been informed about allegations that an ambulanceman failed to spot a woman patient was still alive. As we revealed exclusively last night, the man had been suspended while an internal inquiry was carried out. Dave Harper reports.
The ambulanceman who's been suspended is based here at Carlton in Nottingham. It's understood that he's an experienced member of staff with perhaps 20 years in the job.
It's alleged that he declared a patient, a woman who'd suffered a heart attack, was dead without properly checking. It's then claimed that when a second ambulance crew arrived, they attached a heart monitor and found that she was still alive. She did, however, die later at the Queen's Medical Centre.
This evening, a member of the public has given the police details of the allegations. The ambulance service has issued a statement. It says that the member of staff involved in the alleged 3.5-minute delay in treatment has been suspended from duty. It goes on, the Trust is fully satisfied that its procedures for dealing with cases of this nature are robust and wishes to reassure the public that clinical protocols were followed in full. Dave Harper, East Midlands Today, Nottingham.
The former Derby County goalkeeper Russell Holt is to appear in court in connection with alleged curb crawling. Mr. Holt was one of a number of men stopped by the police who say they are responding to complaints from residents in the Pear Tree area of Derby about curb crawlers and prostitutes. He was transferred from Derby County to Portsmouth last week after spending 5 years with the Rams. The Red Arrows aerobatic display team is to return to its former airbase at Scampton in Lincolnshire. The team moved to RAF Cranwell 5 years ago when their base at Scampton, north of Lincoln, was closed. They're moving back because the airspace over Cranwell is now too crowded. Time for us to fly now, but we will be back with more from the East Midlands tomorrow morning, starting at around 6:30. In the meantime, CFAX can keep you updated at the touch of a button on page 160.
Good evening. We've seen some topsy-turvy weather today, the milder air, so to speak, in the north compared with a chilly 6 in Salisbury, only 5 in Brecon. But that's all set to change. We pick up a mild southerly over the weekend across England and Wales, and the possibility of some Arctic northeasterlies pushing across Scotland and Northern Ireland. But at the moment we're sandwiched in between our two weather fronts, the chilly northeast breeze still bringing dribs and drabs of rain and low cloud across southern counties, and this weather front, albeit weak, is now edging into Northern Ireland. But in between those two systems, under clear skies, here a little mist or fog and some frost too. Elsewhere there should be just enough cloud or breeze to hold the temperatures above freezing. But as we head into tomorrow, I think a cloudier day for Northern Ireland, duller with some drizzle around, and the same goes for the central lowlands and the borders as well, so a different feel here, and that dank weather in the south really holding on. Sandwiched in between though, plenty of sunshine, and we'll see that coming further south, and some bright weather for the northwest of Scotland too. Through Through the course of the afternoon we may see some of that brighter weather coming into the West Midlands, the southwest as well, but still all the time I think rather more cloudy near Lincolnshire, East Anglia and the southeast, overcast skies and some dribs and drabs of rain and drizzle, and perhaps even some of that coming into the far north of England. But what we will see tomorrow is the winds gradually easing down. You can see the arrows decreasing in size, so we'll at last lose that raw northeasterly. Temperatures therefore reaching 8 or 9 more widely and feeling a bit more pleasant if you get some sunshine. But then it's all changing to Friday. This low pressure starts to roll in from the Atlantic, bringing cloud and rain to parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. By then we should at least lose the cloud in the south and east. Temperatures will lift up and it'll be brighter. But then it's unsettled weather really taking over as we head towards the weekend. That dig of cold northeasterly winds across Scotland, bringing in some snow to the Scottish mountains, where it's further south, much milder than we've seen of late, but the showers will become more widespread as we venture through the weekend. Bye-bye.
Now on BBC One, just before the Great Gatsby, here's an update on tonight's National Lottery draw. The winning numbers are confirmed as 11, 18, 20, 23, 28 and 32, and the bonus is 15. Early indications show that there are no jackpot winners tonight.
Benny Duffield.
It's all dirty work.
I will pay you £1,000 to find her.
And no play.
He's gone off his leggy. Works as a photographer on the local paper.
For Leo Beckett.
You're just inches away from a very serious spanking.
But someone's got to do it.
I have a very bad feeling here.
Dirty work.
My God, is that?
Gina. All of her.
I didn't know you could do that with your knees.
New drama continues tomorrow at 9:30 on BBC One.
When a happy family man goes sailing and vanishes without trace.
What if he's never found? If there is no body?
It could be a tragedy.
I think Harry saw it as a challenge, sailing alone.
It could be deception.
I need to know where the money went.
What was the cheque for?
£250,000.
Or it could be the perfect murder.
Harry had a lot of business problems.
You were such a close friend. Why didn't he confide in you?
If Minerva had been lost in the estuary, she'd been found by now.
Francesca Annis.
Did you know he was having an affair?
Stars in Deceit. Starts Sunday at 9 on BBC One. Sometimes the truth is best left alone.
The glamour, the passion and the tragedy now on BBC One, set in the roaring 20s, the powerful BBC Films dramatisation of The Great Gatsby.